come on, please shout out. Let me know you're here. Let me know who you are. Let me know what you're where you're from. All right. Also, after each session, hey Lynn Stewart, after each session, please let us know. Your feedback is really important as we're still in our beta stage, and we need to know whether or not our lives are being effective to you guys who are on, and they're having an affect on you. So it's really important that you let us know that through the comments on the first page. I ask you guys to join in just to let us know how we're doing. Thank you. Hey, Rosie Pringle. Hey, family. Hey, Candace Gore. How you doing? Anne Jean Glasgow from St. Lucia. Now, Anne, are you in St. Lucia right now, or are you from St. Lucia? I need to know that. I need to know how far our reach is. But I'm asking you guys to please let us know. I can't stress enough that your input lets us know how we're doing in this beta version and whether or not we are meeting our own expectations as well as the expectations of our users. So please give us feedback, as much feedback as you possibly can. Hey, Shanice Chairs. Hey, Wendy Roberson. Hey, and you are in St. Lucia. That's wonderful. That's good to know, because we want to know how far our app is reaching. And we know we get people from different places, from England and all over. So it's good to know. And I know St. Lucia is kind of remote. I spent about probably a month, almost 6 weeks there filming once. And for this show that I'm not terribly proud of, but we spent some time there. And it's called Honeymoon Island. Please don't look it up and don't go see it. But regardless, St. Lucia is a beautiful island. All right, great. I want to get started here, and I want to jump right in this because I need to hear from the people. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how you're doing and whether or not you are having questions about tonight's topic. Now, one little glitch that we do have, and thank you for mentioning that, is that the feed sometimes, and this is some stuff we're working out. We're working all this out. Watch, it's going to get worked out. But the feed from this is also the feed from the previous. So sometimes, look, technology, we're still trying to figure it out. I believe technology came here from aliens. So I don't know how it works and how it should or how it shouldn't work or whatever. But sometimes the feeds do get blended. But just disregard that. The feed starts when I said we're live. So all that's from our previous broadcast. Okay, y'all ready? Let's jump into it. I want to talk about something this evening that's probably a little different. There's a word that has been used quite often. I know when I do corporate counseling or corporate speeches, when I used to do it for DEI, which doesn't exist anymore from what I understand. But I did a lot of DEI for corporations, and the word kept coming up, and I'd have to speak on it sometimes about microaggressions. Microaggressions, okay? What is a microaggression? And it's sort of like one of those catchphrases that's risen up in the last, 10 years or so. And microaggressions basically refers to subtle, everyday exchanges or behaviors that communicate a derogatory or a hostile message. Okay, I want to say that again. It's a subtle, everyday exchange, everyday comments or exchanges, and sometimes behaviors that can communicate a derogatory or a hostile message. Now, microaggressions, normally you hear about them in work when people are using a microaggression in regards to your race or regards to your gender. You know, if someone says something, for instance, if a innocent mistake that anyone can make, but if a woman makes it, it's just like a woman. That's a microaggression, Or, when people use those obvious questions like, oh, well, you really did that one, didn't you? Hey, you knocked that one out of the park. That's considered a microaggression. Okay. And it's really an annoying little thing that people do that's derogatory and hostile. I agree. So I can't stand it. I think I do it sometimes though, but God is not done with me yet. Hallelujah. He's not done with you. But no, you sometimes we all do them. We all do them. So microaggressions actually are very, very, is that the more people allow it to transpire without responding to it, it can start to build. And I'm sure that as you guys are thinking about it, I want you to think about your relationships. Girl, you're saying it. You're saying something. Before we ever go there, Lynn just said something so important. Or a good one is, how's your little business going? Absolutely. Let me share this with you. About 10 years ago, actually almost 10 years, my 10-year anniversary this year since I've been on TV. And about 10 years ago, when I first started this, it was a big deal to me. I'd never been on TV before, not intentionally. But I was on TV, just little stuff, maybe little news things or what have you. But I was telling some friends about the show, and they saw something, we were celebrating our opening and what have you. Someone said, got your little 15 minutes of fame, right? Very derogatory. And it was more overt than covert. Normally microaggressions are covert, but this was pretty overt. And I said, okay, yes. That was 10 years ago. Yeah, there's a whole lot of 15 minutes, by the way. But the bottom line is we do this often in relationships. And that's what I want to talk about, because we see it all the time at work. There may be little racist hints. I remember when I first started in investments, I was the only black person in the entire company, not in my city, not in my office, in the company. There was not another person of my race at the level I was in the company. And I'll never forget, the manager of the office called me in and said, hey, Calvin, you're doing a great job, man. I'm so glad we have you here. I just want you to know, man, I like you from the start. In fact, I don't even see you as black. Yeah. To him, it was a compliment, supposedly. It was a microaggression. Okay, it was a little snide, little subliminal, little surreptitious thing. That just drives into you. Rosie says, there are also buffering issues for me tonight. Oh, I thought you were talking about the aliens didn't leave good enough instructions. Okay, I'm not buffering on our side. So that's the aliens. Yeah, those are the Pringle aliens. But regardless, those are the things that kind of drive. So in our relationships, sometimes we have microaggressions toward each other, and I want you to start thinking about that. And you might be you might be throwing somebody under the bus, but I want you to start just listing little microaggressions. Lynn just said one. How's your little business? We know you're an entrepreneur, Lynn. I can say this because I know you. And you're a beast at what you do. But for someone to say, how's your little business? It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. Write down or let me know some other microaggressions that you might even hear in your marriage or in your relationship or from your children or from your parents, okay? Because we all do them. We all do them, and they can be very, very painful. Sometimes it comes in the form of a mocking joke, or remark that might have some kind of discriminatory undertones, And sometimes it's patronizing due to age. My wife, my wife and I are 10 years apart, right? That's right, 10 years apart, yes. And she said, so people say, oh, yeah, you robbed a cradle. I said, first of all, that's gross. And secondly, how come she didn't rob the nursing home? Huh? Ever think about that? But, just little things like that. Lynn says, thanks for cooking. It's a little salty, but it's still good. Yeah, we're going to talk about how do you deal with those things, okay? Because these microaggressions, what they do is that they drop seeds of discontent. They drop seeds of discontent, and those things start to build and build. And after a while, it just becomes like this churning, uncomfortable thing that you don't want to hear from a person. Or else you expect them to say something negative when something positive can easily be said. And whenever something's good happening, wait for here they come. Here they come. All right. Stereotypical gestures, My wife told me once, and I think she's a good cook. I honestly do. And when she cooks, she does a good job. She does. Especially when she makes like palau and all other trendy stuff. I love it. But I think that because, and I'm just telling you for a minute, honey, because at some point she was criticized. She tells the story. She was criticized when she was younger from her siblings about cooking, and so it kind of hindered her from getting in there and doing what she wanted to do, just from getting out there and just doing it. Because we don't realize the power of our words. We don't realize the power. Rosie says, does in dating negging count? Does in dating negging count? Okay, I don't know if dating negging counts, Rosie. Maybe if you could rewrite that, I could answer. Wendy says, you eating that bread with potatoes? Oh my God. This is yes. Meaning you try to get fat? Yes, honey. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I've gotten to the point where when people microaggress towards me, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Okay. I'm still waiting for Rosie to define what that means. Another thing is minimizing somebody's emotional experiences. Okay, she said my English is, does nagging count? Oh my God. Does nagging count? Yes, nagging or negging, as you put it. I guess, I don't know if that's a Caribbean thing. But does nagging count? Nagging can count, okay? Nagging can be a part of microaggression, depending on how you, if it's a sarcastic little subtle, with little scud missiles that you shoot everything just to make sure that they get on. Oh, you're supposed to do the dishes, and it's like, wow, a lot of dishes in the kitchen. Oh, so you going out? Oh, so did I ask you to do the dishes? Just stuff like that. Now, we understand that people have to give instructions, okay? But there comes a time when you should know your boundaries. We're going to talk about that in a second also. So you're asking for my help now? That's another good one. Y'all got some zingers in here, and I know there are more people out there who are actually commenting. But you're asking for my help now? Oh, Wendy, you just got a bunch of them, don't you? You wearing that? Yes, that's another one. So minimizing an emotional experience also. When we were kids, this is a microaggression, and our parents didn't even know it. But if you're hurt about something and you come in complaining, and your parents start, we used to get spankings, okay? And it's like, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Well, I don't really need anything else to cry about, but thank you, or whatever. Parents are masters at microaggressions. We're masters at it. Because our parents were masters and they taught us well. With these belittling or downplaying of someone's emotional experience or someone's concern, these things can have a deleterious and a long-lasting effect on your psyche. They can actually have a negative effect on your psyche. And it can really start to destroy your confidence, your personal confidence. Rosie says, when my parents did that, it was a Thank you. You did not misspell that at all. Rosie. When my parents did it, that was a macro aggression. You're absolutely right. I think a lot of parents specialize in macro. So some of these things are micro invalidations, which refers to subtle statements that invalidate or dismiss a person's feelings. There's also micro insults, with subtle remarks or behaviors that convey disrespect, insensitivity, or demeaning messages, or micro assaults, which are verbal attacks. And sometimes physical, maybe not contact, but physical aggression, moving toward a person. And that's not always micro. That's sometimes, as you said, Rosie, macro. All right. Another one, man up. Oh my God. That is seriously micro, rather. That is seriously. Because what you're saying is that you need to be a man. And when a woman tells a man to man up, first of all, do you know how to do that? Before you tell me that. Because last time I checked, you don't have a Y chromosome. All right? You're just two X's. Ain't nothing wrong with it. We love it. But still, man up is a great example. I wish you could be like you were when we first met, in a kind voice. That's and we've talked about that. And, Wendy and I've talked to people about that. That's an impossible and ridiculous request. Because the bottom line is you'll never be the person you were when you first met. Because that was a person then. Life, experience, trials, hardship, those things have changed you. You'll never be the person you were when you met. That's why that nonsensical statement people make, well, what it takes to get her is what it's going to take to keep her. That's bull crap. No, what it takes to get a person is simply that, what it took to get them. What it takes to keep them is so much more. Okay? You're being too sensitive. Just get over it. Yes. Ladies, let me give you a hint here. Men don't like being called sensitive. It's not something that we like. Okay? And not that we have a problem being sensitive. We just don't want to be reminded of it on a consistent, forceful basis. It's not something that we want. Okay? So if your man is being sensitive, first of all, thank God. Because what we need are more sensitive men. What we need are men who feel, men who understand. We don't need men who cry all the time. God knows I know some of those. We don't need that either. But we do need men who can feel. So being too sensitive, that's a good one. That's a good one. So how do we deal with these micro assaults and micro insults and such? How do you deal with this? So there's some remedies, okay? Okay, Wendy says, okay. Oh, wait a minute. Here's another one. Ann Jeans Glasgow says, who's wearing the pants here? Yeah, that's another one. Who is wearing the pants? Okay. And it's kind of ridiculous. Well, first of all, women wear pants. What you're saying is, you're not going to usurp my authority. All right. When it says, thank God you never said this to me, but oh, look at how good his wife treats him. He must be a really happy man. Ooh. Yeah, no, I ain't never say that to you. No, I'll never say that to you. That's a pretty, that's a dangerous thing to say. Either way. Oh, look at how great, her husband treats, how good his wife treats him. Yeah, no. Yeah, I stay away from those. Okay. So how do we fight against it? What do you do when microaggression has come towards you? First of all, be aware of it. And we're doing the session like this so you will know when it's happening. You'll know when someone is, if you've been having conversations and all of a sudden, why do I like being around this person? It's because they're microaggressive. Okay? It's because they're saying things, they're dripping these negative, dirty, rotten seeds into your soul, and you don't know, but they're growing something really ugly. Okay? So be aware of it. Recognize when microaggressions take place. Okay? They're subtle. They often go unnoticed, but you got to recognize it. And being aware of them is the first step. All right? Oh, he gives his wife flowers. That must be nice. Whatever. Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you something funny about that. Is that my wife? I bought her flowers a couple times, and she said, "Yeah." We joke about this now because I mean she only likes one kind of flower, and I know what it is, and I get it for her. But it's like cards. You know, we don't buy cards. We actually go to the store during Valentine's Day, look at cards and show it to each other, take a picture of it and show it to each other, because when we get cards, we just throw them away. But that's just us. But those kinds of things, he gives his wife flowers. Anytime you're comparing your spouse to another person, what you're actually doing, what you're doing in effect, is you're creating a very a jealous spouse. You're sort of instilling jealousy into your relationship. And sometimes we don't even realize that, but we're instilling that seed of jealousy. Because if I know that my wife is looking at someone else, or she knows that I'm looking at someone else and admiring them above her, all right, I'm trying to make them jealous. And that's an incredibly dangerous thing. All right. Okay. So first, be aware. Secondly, communicate when it happens. When it happens, recognize, communicate it. Communicate it directly and openly that this person is committing a microaggression. Say, you know what? What do you mean by that? Tell me what you mean by that. Okay? Because I know you're not meaning me something good. Deliver your words clearly, deliver your words with an even tone, and maintain eye contact with that person. Say, so what do you mean by that? My 15 minutes of fame. What do you mean by that? That his wife treats him well. I mean, honestly, I just want to know. And just ask that and be very direct and very clear. Not angrily. Okay? Because that person needs to know what they're doing, because they actually do. But it may just be a habit, and they need to be notified of that habit. Okay? So be aware. Communicate it clearly. All right. Wendy says, in dating, if it doesn't stop, run quickly. Exactly. And that's something, especially in dating, that you have to be aware of. You have to know when that's happening. If you're going out with someone and they're dropping those little bombs, they're dropping those little seeds, and you're just sitting there saying, okay, well, no, he didn't mean that. No, she didn't mean, no, it's okay. They'll be, it's fine, but they so fine. But he makes $150,000 a year. But he says, oh, and he's sitting there looking at you and saying, oh, you look beautiful today. I think my mother has a dress like that. No, don't accept that. Yeah, because it can, as Wendy is saying, it can turn into an acceptable form of abuse. So recognize it, communicate it clearly, and then set boundaries. Okay? It's so important to set boundaries when someone is being microaggressive to you. These boundaries will let them know what is acceptable for you in this relationship. Okay? Let that person know that microaggressions are not acceptable to you. I've always believed that if you do not set boundaries for what you want in a relationship, other people will set those boundaries for you, and you will not like it. If you don't set boundaries for what you want, then you're letting the other person set those boundaries for you, and you won't want it. So remember that. Boundaries must be set when someone is being aggressive, even from a minute perspective. All right? Next, lead by example. If you're in a relationship and that's happening continuously, make sure you're not doing it. And so when that person is doing it, letting them know, communicate it, set boundaries, but then don't do it back, because now you're leading by example. You're letting them know what good communication looks like. All right? And if you're married, sometimes this is something that requires counseling, and you'll have to separate the person from the problem. And that's very difficult to do, but I would advise you to seek professional counseling in a situation like that. Okay, time's almost up. Wendy here says, although I saw an IG post, it got to be true, it was IG, that said friends who jest with each other are usually more honest and stay friends longer. Is jesting okay? There's a thin line. Yeah, I think if jesting or joking around leaves anyone feeling ashamed, feeling pained, or feeling as though they're being discriminated against, then the jesting is wrong. Jesting, joke. Look, I'm a big joker, man. My friends and I, we laugh. I love laughing, but very seldom, if ever, have I ever been around dudes and we've laughed and stuff, and we dogging each other out. Not it, no, because I think there's a different line for men than for women. We jest, and if all of a sudden it becomes an insult or an aggression, it ain't fun no more. And we're not jesting anymore. Now we're posturing. Okay? So you must understand what's going on at all times. Jesting must be couched in kindness. Our time is up. I hope you got it. Let me know. Shout out. Let me know. Did you guys understand what I'm talking about tonight? Did you understand microaggressions? If so, give me a hand, thumbs up, or something very quickly and let me know, because it's so important that when I'm speaking, that I know that you're getting it, or else, this ain't no good. This is excellent. Excellent. Thank you, honey. All right, there you go. There you go. Excellent. Excellent. So look, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please go to the front page. Give us some ideas. Let us know how we did. And this is not just for me, it's for our development team and everyone, so we can all know whether or not we're doing things right. And I want to invite men, because men, we are taking it to another level. So on the front page where it says Men Touring Manhood, go there, click on that, men. And women, you're free to click on it also. But go there. And as you go into that community, you're going to find a whole new world open up where we now are starting to focus on preparing men for relationships. Tell your friends, and hopefully we'll see you on Tuesday. All right. Thank you, honey. Take care.